Hi, how are you? Hello and welcome to the Willow Worlds podcast. Imagine a patch of grass transformed into a dense, thriving forest in just 3 years. That's the promise of what Jake M. Robinson calls the Miyawaki Forest Revolution. Is it the ecological game changer we need, or just another distraction? Let's find out. I think at first we should start with a thank you to Fife Council's Grasslands Project. The Fife Grasslands Project, launched in response to the 2019 Declaration of Climate Emergency, aimed to cut grass less and harvest it for sustainable uses. Since 2022, Muiredge Park has hosted overlapping initiatives, and we're grateful to Fife Council for making this possible. I think the council could expand the grasslands into fully fledged nature restoration zones. After all, it would save money if they just left it alone completely. And we know the grass is just going to strangle itself for the next 10 years if nobody cuts it. It won't turn into a forest by itself for years and years. Why? Well, because of the deer, of course. Muiredge Park, since 2022, is where the Grasslands Project gave way to something even more special. One of Akira Miyawaki's tiny forests. Akira Miyawaki was a Japanese botanist who died in 2021 at the ripe old age of 93. He worked on a question very close to our question about baselines. What would a pre-human plant ecology look like? Okay, he's maxing out the forest a bit more than the rewilders would like. He was intent on maximising the flourishing of forest cover. He's a botanist, so what do you expect? But his passion for plants and his popularity goes to show that rewilding isn't the only nature restoration show in town. There's more than one way to attempt ecosystem restoration, and let's admit it, the Japanese have looked after their natural heritage a bit better than the Scots.
Biodiversity restoration is an important part of preventing the extinction of animal species and slowing down climate change. The Leavenmouth Climate Beacon and its community is already trying to do a lot to put nature back to work. By restoring biodiversity, we aim to create a cleaner and calmer climate. This kind of tree planting is different from the usual way of tree planting. It actually uses a Japanese method named after a man called Miyawaki. The Miyawaki method will make a dense, fast-growing forest. In this method of planting, special attention is paid to the soil by digging it over, adding lots of nutrients, planting lots of different trees very close together, and using mulch.
We need to plant trees for the climate emergency. One day we'll get a hedgehog here.
I think that planting a wee forest helps tame trees and it helps climate change and it helps rein habitat in all animals and insects and it's quite a nice act.
Our planting day was the 30th of March 2022. It was a beautiful day, but it was very windy and we had a hailstorm at the end. Lots of people turned up and lots of pupils took part during the day. Lots of people from the community took part too. Tree planting is satisfying work, and it's even satisfying just to watch people tree planting, which is what you are doing. Wee forests might be super tiny, but they are also super powerful because they can grow fast and make people think about nature and why it matters. The wee forest is about citizen science too. Some of the planted trees have tags, and over the next 10 years these trees will be measured to provide data for a Europe-wide study on how fast wee forests grow. Earthwatch Europe hopes to establish 150 forests in UK by 2023. So there is an opportunity to expand the network of wee forests across Fife. At the end of the day, we got all 600 trees planted. We're sure this wee forest has part to play in Scotland's response to the climate emergency.
Let's turn to the national context of tiny forests across Europe. Upcoming star of tree science, Jake M. Robinson, in his new book, Tree Wilding 2024, exclaims that there's a Miyawaki forest revolution taking place. Only time will tell if it will be a game changer or a distraction from better solutions. And that was just 6 months ago, which is the blink of an eye to a tree. Before his death in 2021, Miyawaki had supervised the creation of over 1,300 tiny forests. But in the UK, all Miyawaki forests are new. The oldest one in the UK is just 4 years old, planted as it was in Oxford in 2020, just 2 years before our one. Looking at photos from the Earthwatch Europe website, reproduced here, we can see that the Oxford one has grown amazingly well. From a good year of growth in 2021 to what looks like full forest in 2023, just 3 years from its first planting. It really does work. Since then, 256 tiny forests have been created across the UK. Only 30 of them have been created in Scotland, which, when you think about the space we have for planting trees, it might seem like a scandal. And there's still time left. If you're reading this in 2025 and you're not in terrible distress, there are still 5 years left of the UN Decade of Ecosystem Restoration. So maybe Scotland can catch up. For what it's worth, I think there should be a Miyawaki forest revolution in Scotland. Please help to make a wee forest. Please search the internet for wee forest and follow the links to the Nature Scot website. Make an application and get it done. It's easy if you're doggedly persistent. Tree planting is often held up as a gold standard of sustainable activities. Sometimes it's the only thing you can think of as an environmental action apart from litter picking, doing the recycling and going vegan. And it's very sustainable. I mean, it can't really take over your life. It's just a few wintry planting days a year, and that's it. You've done your bit to save the world. You can book your next flight with a clear conscience. Still, and nevertheless, planting a tree this month is an exercise in hope. It's defo better than not planting a tree. There is actually a debate for another time on this, but to cut a long story short, I still think it's defo better than not planting a tree. Anyway, I can't think of many other environmental actions to do, so I spend some of my time planting trees. The conventional way to plant a tree is to make a couple of slits into the ground with a spade in a capital T shape. Then you lever up the top slit of the T shape, see the soil part like a mouth, and drop the tree sapling into it. Press the soil down gently with your foot, and then hammer in a wooden stake to hold the tree guard. Then protect the tree with a tree guard, and if you're extra serious, you'll put a mulch mat down around the tree to stop the grass from overwhelming the tree. Simple. Clear, a local charity, have made several conventional plantations of native trees in Muiredge Park, and most of them have fared poorly, unfortunately. It's nobody's fault. The grass is very aggressive, the deer seem hungry, the soil is very clear, clay-like, and the last few years have had some very hot, dry summers, as you know. The only area which seems to have done okay is where there's a slight dip in the ground, which has afforded slightly better hydration. The contrast between these conventionally planted trees struggling against the clay and the luxurious growth in the wee forest is plain to see. It's chalk and cheese. It's all about the soil. So that covers the native tree planting that's already on site. I'm going to continue describing what's there with a summary of the soil preparation activities we did on the Willow World sites in December. I'm going to name names because it really does take a community to do a community research project, and I'd like to express my thanks to them. Firstly, there was me and Chris Cuppett marking out the circles as best we could, and then in December we removed and replanted trees that were getting in the way. They were all small, don't worry. And then there was Cara Dunwilkie with our CAT scanner. We insisted on very careful CAT scanning for underground pipes and cables. Then we had to remark our 3 circles because they weren't circular enough. Then there was the cardboard for mulching one of the circles, and that was a lot of cardboard. Then there were deliveries of manure for 2 of the 3 circles. Donald Lane, the farmer from Coulton and Weems, did us proud with great mountains of it, 10 tons in both circles. Pupils were involved in this, and they even got a ride in the huge tractor. Then there was the great day of ditch digging. Robert Kirkhope from Clear brought a small mechanical digger, nothing like the one that made the wee forest, and we made 3 circular ditches and filled them with grass, cardboard, manure and soil to feed the willow and enable easy planting. Sam Green and Lee Ingalls put in a good shift as volunteers. Local pupils, Armani Drummond, Jackson Curry and Craig Voss, were there before I was, and we all worked until it was done. I'm amazed with what we did in one epic Saturday. Bye for now, and thanks for reading and listening. Willow Worlds hopes you've enjoyed this recording.